Howdy, folks. Today we're going to talk about the 64 Audio Neo. So, this is a really high end headphone. It's $1,700. It has a little bit of hype. I think Critical was talking about how his N8 that he tried to get a custom out of sounded like doo doo. And this one is supposed to kind of be a fixed copy or version of that he enjoys more. And for that reason, I kind of wanted to hear it, and other reasons. I've never heard a 64 audio, and they're considered very, very good by a lot of folks. And this pair is a hybrid set, so it's got, well, it says right there, it's got a dynamic driver. Let's see, one TIA high-end balanced armature, one high mid balanced armature, six mid balanced armatures, and one dynamic low dynamic driver, blah, blah, blah. Impedance is 6 ohm, which is interesting, pretty low actually. And they do have these things called an Apex module, which I'll just kind of pull out here. And that is an Apex, whoa, where'd it go? There you are. So this is the medium gain module, which is the M15. Sorry, medium bass module. Geez, it's a damper and also a pressure relief thing. So I did try the what are they? MX, which is the lowest bass modules, and I don't like them. They don't have enough bass slam at all for my preferences. And then I tried the high bass ones, which is hang on a second. I think I got that wrong. I think the M20 is the low bass and the MX is the high bass, probably. I think. Anyway, the medium one is about as good as it gets on these for me. The high bass is way too much and the low is too little. In terms of the fit and finish, the little abalone shell on these is absolutely gorgeous, or the little back thingy on this. They have a metal build, and talk about this a little bit, but I first tried these with Asla Senda EarFit lights, which have a gigantic bore, and I was about to crap all over these in a horrible way. I talked to some people and was just incredibly unhappy. So you might notice that is a very, very long nozzle on that. And I believe, okay, so these are generally, well, 64 Audio makes their stuff primarily for musicians, I think, maybe. So these are designed to go in your ears, seat fully in there, fill up most of your ear canal with this thing. And I'm assuming that a lot of people use these kind of things with them. I can get this on there. Oh, you get the point. Deep fit 3-flange tip, and I don't think that's blocking any of the bore. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Like, actually, that's the same size as the bore. So anyway, I was trying the Asla ones, and the treble was just god awful. It was horrible. It was sibilant and peaky and all of the bad things you'd ever want to talk about treble. And then I was talking to my buddy that lent me these. He's like, yeah, no, you got to put those really far in your ears. And I'm like, oh, whoops. Should have figured that out. And the Asla EarFit Lights ones, they really don't fit deeply in me. They really just are a very, very shallow fit for my ear canals. So put these things on, and it was like, okay, the heavens opened up, and then I understood why these are so damn good. So I wanted to mention that because, let me pull this up real quick. Let's see, Firefox. Okay. So that's the internal build of these things. And you might notice that we have this let's see if I can get my cursor over here. This thing here, which is like a bunch of balanced armatures going into some nozzle with a tube. So it's basically like this. Balanced armatures need a perfect acoustic coupling to the eardrum, meaning that they have to have a perfect seal. Otherwise, they they amplify whatever frequency range they're in a lot, and they become very uncontrolled, piercy, sibilant, and horrible. So given all of that, I should have realized this immediately, but these do require a perfect deep fit to get all of the goods. I promise you that. Without that, you're going to be very unhappy. I think, yeah, we'll just say that. So let me scoot these over just a hair. $1,700. These are not cheap. These are very, very expensive. Oh, and just to go over this real quick, the cable, people hate this cable. Absolutely hate it. Let me just get this out of the way. But I don't. I don't particularly like how it tangles real easy. But you got to understand what this is for. And that is for, these things go deep in someone's ears. They go around your back. They get taped to your back, down to your pocket. And then you have a little, wireless receiver for these as a musician. So given that, the cable's fine. Yeah, it's jangly and it tangles, like, as you can see, and it's not the softest thing, but it is thin and it doesn't get in the way. And I hate thick cables. So I'll use it. I don't care. It's fine. Whatever. Cable. All right. Just kind of like you wanted to say that. And again, I don't think cables do anything to sound. Yeah, whatever. All right, let's talk about the sound on these bad boys. So let me, why don't I have that right? Let's see. We'll just pop this up to the top right here so it's easy to look at. This line right here. All right, we'll go for the magic special factor. Now, I've been battling around because I've just had the Clairs in my ears for a while and they're really hitting me in the sweet spot. But I do, whenever I try these, they really hit me in the sweet spot as well. I would call them a slightly more relaxed version of the Clairs, oddly enough. Um, but they're well within my preferences mostly. I don't know. I may bonk this down to a 9 as I listen to these more, and I've had these exactly for like a day and a half. But again, they're so good and so near my preferences that I just felt like I should throw a rating out there, see what happens. Maybe I'll downgrade it a little bit, but this is probably pretty similar to what it's going to end up being. So, accuracy, well, anyway, so 9 or 10 for exceptional. We'll call it a 10 for now because I'm hype on them right now. Uh, for accuracy, we'll call it an 8 out of 10. And let me just do this. Wait a minute, where are we? All right, so we got a Neo versus Clairvoyance because I just rated that. So I just kind of want to bring those graphs up. Um, the Neo does in fact, okay, so I've got the medium bass module, and I'll say this, the max bass module is like way, way, way too much bass for the Neo, and the minimum bass is just flat and boring. So I like the medium, and it's still a little much for my preferences, but it's okay. I'd prefer to have more bass slam than less, if that makes sense. So we got a pretty good sort of low mid range to mid bass here, a little extra mid bass and a good amount of sub bass slam, and then yeah, and the mids are not really my preference. It is a little lesser than I prefer the energy in this area. I don't know if we call that a W or something, maybe, but it goes down a little bit and then back up. And people say this is like a a peak area. Well, it's not that bad. If I was to pull up what is this versus the EJ, you would see that it's like, yeah, it's it's pretty close. I mean, if we're talking about that, maybe a few dB. But if I was to, let me do this. Let me kill off the EJ, and we'll do the Tangem, which I think I have said is a little unforgiving. And then yeah, that maybe will say everything. A little unforgiving. It's got a little more mids in this area, quite bold and rich. So, just interesting stuff. Get back to the graph. So we're talking about accuracy, anyways. As you can see, it's pretty decent, 8 out of 10. Could be better, but I was kind of thinking about this, and it's like, if I was a studio musician, oh wait, I am. But what would I prefer is like a little extra, like I don't know, if I'm playing along with things, maybe I'd want to hear cymbals and sort of the backing percussive so that I could stay in time. Maybe that's what they were going for. Also with some nice musical factor going in there. So I don't know. Maybe that's where I'm getting with the accuracy versus like a 10 out of 10 in accuracy. So anyway, moving on. Wideness. It's quite excellent. Where are we here? Let me just got too many things up on my screen. So we're here at wideness 8.5. I was kind of battling in my mind between 8 and 9, so I just figured we'll go in the 8.5. They are very good. The balanced armatures tend to always, well, not always, but sound fairly wide if tuned correctly. And I do hear these as being maybe a step down from the best electrostatics. I actually checked this pretty closely. I tried a bunch of tracks and just kind of, what does my brain think is a bit wider? And yeah, there's some stuff that's a little wider, but it does a good job. Although maybe for $1,700, maybe that's expensive. Could be. Anyway, moving on. So for 3D, they're quite excellent. We'll rate them an 8 out of 8.5. And again, I did a bunch of A/B testing for this. Well, 8.5 for the Clair anyway. And I consider them just a hair down from the Clair in terms of 3D and wideness. I'm assuming it's the balanced armatures just do that maybe, I don't know. That I guess about this a lot, but yeah. So could be better, but it's great. Imaging is as good or about as good as it ever gets on anything. Pinpoint accuracy on instruments. Oh look, Mest gets a 10, and I think it deserves that. So it's a hair down from that, but excellent and probably good enough for anyone, I think. Yeah. So volume scaling, and this is pretty decent. I rated it down a hair from the Claire. I think sorry, I rated it up a hair from the Claire in volume scaling, and I think the reason for that is just because it has a little more relaxed treble. Let me bring the graph up if I can find it. Or try this. Yeah. So we'll do the yeah. So that's the Claire versus the Neo, and so yeah, it's basically like this. It doesn't quite have the this 8K peak and this 2.5K peak is a little reserved, and then I don't find this whatever peak that is. I can't hear that. So basically, this is just like a little more relaxed sounding in the treble and mid range than the Claire. I mean, it's about as clear, give or take, depending on preferences. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. A little more relaxed sounding, shall we say, which I don't hate. So talk about volume scaling. So let's get on to bass. So this is interesting. I actually prefer a little less mid bass than this IEM is giving us. So I rated it an 8 out of 10. Sorry, let me go over a little more. And is basically this. If there was a module that was between the medium and the low, I might choose that, and that might bump the score up, but I don't know of one, so, and I didn't get one. And it's a little tubby in the mid-range, sorry, the mid-bass for my preferences. Just a hair of bleed into the mids. And then, like we're talking about this area here, so a little extra mid-bass here. And then up here, since we don't have this 2.5K peak quite as high, you do hear a bit more of the mid-bass, sort of psychoacoustic kind of effect. And it sounds a little bit tubbier than the Claire or other things. It's within my preferences, and I like it a lot, but it could be slightly better, shall we say. Slightly. A little less mid-bass, maybe. All right, let's go back here. So, where are we here? Mids, yeah, bass to mids. I just pulled the graph up. I'll just talk. The mids are basically a little bit lower than I like, and the medium bass module does cover up a little bit of the mids, and so we're going to call the mids about a 7.5 out of 10. Could be a little better if they threw a little more energy in there, or possibly like bass damper that was a little less bass pushed. Pretty good. There are whatever that was 6 balanced armatures, so the resolution of the mids is pretty decent. Yeah, it's not the best and certainly not bad. Pretty decent. I'd prefer a little better. Detail, pretty good. It's got the whatever TIA driver in there. I hear it sounding pretty good. It's got a reasonable amount of sparkle, not as good as the best, of course. Pretty similar to the EJ, actually, in sparkle level, oddly enough. Yeah, and then, resolution. I figure electrostatics need just a bit extra in that area, or give you a little extra in that area, sorry, than balanced armatures, no matter how many you throw in there, something like that. Moving on, we got pressure buildup. Nope, they got vents. They're cool, and I would expect that given that they're for musicians, because you just can't have that as you're playing instruments. Maybe singing, changing the shape and form of your ear canal. That can't happen. So that's that's definitely cool. Isolation is actually quite good if you get them way deep in there with the 3 flanges. And it's metal too. I'll call it a 4. It fits me very well with the deep fit. So I do get a lot of isolation and I can't hear anything. Binaural is actually quite good on these. Sounds like you're there. Pretty good. Not as good as the best. There's nothing really else to talk about that much other than, Jesus Christ, the price is high on these, man. So if you ask me, would I buy these for $1,700? No, I wouldn't. I'd buy the Clairs for $700, and or other things. But so a couple folks tried these and hated them, or maybe not hated them, but didn't think they were worth the 1700. And I can say for sure that maybe if you tried a deep insertion fit on these guys, it might be a little better for you. It certainly was for me, so that's something to try. Would I recommend these? Man, probably not. Man, $1,700 is just a little too much for my tastes, considering what you get out of these. And for $1,400, a mess to probably beat them in most aspects. So yeah, cool set, expensive, interesting, well made, but probably not recommended. Anyway, a little more eye candy. Pretty cool. Glad to have tried the 64 audios. Yeah. Oh, look at that little red vent there. And what is this, blue? No, you get two reds. All right, folks. Have a great day. Take care.